line. You can see the sand and the dust that they're picking. Hope for Academy Motorsport, Eric Evans and his teammate Signoretti, that it's a different story. They showed so strong at Ricard. Getting that first win for the new Mustang was great for them.
Let's go to the grid. Alex Legui is down there. So too is Joachim Bolting, who will take over the Pro-Am pole Porsche from Hendrik Still. Let's hear from Joachim now.
Well, here we are again. It's time to speak to Joachim Bolting yet again. Yeah. Because you've done it. You boys are back on the front row.
Yeah.
Can you convert it this time?
I think we will try it a little bit better than in Paul Ricard, because in Paul Ricard we did a jump start, so we get some penalties for that, and we had a lot of track limits. So we get also for this penalties, and now the plan is to have a stable race without penalties, without making faults. We will don't press so much that we did in Paul Ricard to be more in the front in our class. It's not the race win what we're looking for, but the class win.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. We spoke last time, but I didn't actually get to ask you on the interview what "the world is a circus" means on your livery.
Oh, that's a long story. I cannot tell you now in this interview because it's depending 2 years ago, and I had some stresses with the brand. And I have some problems in the German racing situation, but I can explain it to you next time, maybe between the lines.
Very intriguing, and I see you've still got your lucky shoes on.
Yeah, I wanted to have some special shoes. That's the reason why I have different colors and my name on it, so everyone knows my name and knows me.
As always, it's very good to chat to you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good race, boys.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good character, Joachim Bolting, and you can see the creatively coloured and liveried Porsche. Some of the clowns looking more cheerful than others.
He's had a big haircut as well since Ricard, but
yeah.
Being impartial, like I've said, he's definitely my favourite driver on the grid. And yeah, he's totally right there. They need to chill out a bit, not get distracted by an overall result, and concentrate on the Pro-Am element of the class that they're in.
Had a quick wave from the Mercedes driver, Luc Ibanez, who lines up fourth on the grid. The Corvette, try again, the Mustang, Eric Evans, Marco Signoretti had a win at Paul Ricard. They are third in the Silver Championship. The Championship leaders didn't have a win, but a couple of second places, Adrien David and Jan Duran. They are sixth on the grid in the Toyota Supra. This is the car that's fifth, Benjamin Lariche, Robert Consani's Audi. They won the second race and are second in silver. There is Robert Consani. Benjamin Lariche in the car. Eric Evans is one row ahead of them, though, in the Ford Mustang, and Alex has made her way to one of the most popular cars on the grid, the Mustang.
Thought I'd grab a chat with Eric, you're looking very cool, calm and collected. The car is looking very punchy around this circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's looking like a bit of a surprise for us. I mean, as you know, obviously everyone thinks big horsepower, big straight line speed in a Mustang, but no, this thing's been very good, wonderful, especially around this amazingly twisty circuit.
Yeah. Did you expect to have such good pace?
Yeah, I think when we did some preseason testing, we knew that the pace would be good around here, better than we expected, but we just didn't know how good until everyone showed up. And I think it surprised us a little bit. I mean, obviously, you know, Ford and the Academy give us an amazing car every weekend, but I think we're just happy to be where we are and try to take advantage of it.
We know these two in front of you are very good off the line. What can you do?
I think I'm going to just
Beyond Better, the new Tiguan R-Line. Volkswagen.
இந்த கிட்டை யூஸ் பண்ணி எங்களால் உங்கள் பசங்களுக்கு பேசிக் எலக்ட்ரானிக்ஸ்லேருந்து ஒரு சென்சார் பேஸ்ட் ஆட்டோமேஷன் வரைக்கும் எப்படி ஒர்க் ஆகுது அப்படின்னு அவங்களே சின்ன சின்ன எலக்ட்ரானிக்ஸ் ப்ராஜெக்டாக பில்ட் பண்ண வச்சு சொல்லிக் கொடுக்க முடியும். உங்கள் பசங்க கிளாஸ்
It's a different story. They showed so strong at Ricard getting that first win for the new.
Must say it's becoming a chilly end to the day here at this Dutch seaside circuit. The car at the back of the grid, assuming it's there, will be the Continental Racing entry of Vasily Vladikin and Michael Laboda that missed qualifying. So need to keep an eye just to make sure that that car is actually going to be on the grid. The Continental Racing by Simpson Motorsport BMW. They're another of the different brands that are represented on the grid this year. The CMR Ginetta of Nicolas Siamant and Ethan Giardini, the Ginetta G56 Evo. Ginetta's mainstays of the early days of GT4 racing. And again, a car that you can anticipate will be there or thereabouts during the course of 60 minutes of racing. And as we saw in GT3, it can get very crowded around here.
Yeah, it kicked off straight away, didn't it, in GT3? On the pit straight, as soon as the lights went, there was contact, and that contact continued through turns 1 and 2 and into 3. So action aplenty, turn 1 with the heavy banking, possible to go around the outside. So don't discount any cars on the outside row. The inside row, always safer and the place you want to be, but I wonder if Hendrick still is contemplating a late break to go hard into 1, try and roll the momentum round the outside of Gilbert in that Audi.
I guess he has to, doesn't he, in a sense, because although he is thinking class win more than an outright, the more cars he can get between him and the class opposition, the better. It protects that gap going into the second stint.
Yeah, I think what will happen, as soon as the lights go out, he'll have a quick glance in his right mirror, and if there's a gap between the Mustang and that Audi on your left part of the shot, he'll try and slot into that. That will be the low-risk option, and if that gap is closed, he's really then just got to go over to the inside and send it and try and then slot into that gap on the corner exit. But as soon as you go around the outside, you're asking to be hit. Physics dictates as soon as a car loses control, from the apex onwards especially, it goes outwards, and you are then a movable target.
Number 5, you just had a look at Ruben Del Sart starting the Mirage Racing Aston. So the green Audi, Greg Gilbert starts. Hendrick Still is alongside him. Then you've got Eric Evans in the Mustang. You've got Luc Ibanez's Mercedes AMG ahead of the Audi of Benjamin Lariche and the Toyota Supra of Hadrien David, who moves from single-seaters Formula Regional into GT4 racing this year. And a consistent Paul Ricard brings them here as the Silver Championship leaders. The Pro-Am Championship leader is Henrik Still, Joachim Bolting, and the leading AMs with 2 wins of Paul Ricard, Jean-Mathieu Leandre and Anthony Debarn. And this is the view from the Porsche of Ajith Kumar, the Indian actor. He's on road 21 as the green flag flutters. The cars are released now. Last chance to get some warmth into the Pirelli rubber. So the weaving begins. There is, within the driver's briefing, a specified point where the weaving stops. They have to get themselves in that 2x2 formation ready for the start of the race. 60 minutes we look forward to them around this 4.2 kilometre long circuit with Greg Gilbert then on pole position. Hendrick Still with him at the front ahead of Eric Evans, and then Luc Ibanez on the second row of the grid. Row 3 is where you find Benjamin Lariche and Hadrien David. It's Audi and Toyota ahead of the Porsche of Elon Gabet and the Ginetta of Nicolas Siamin alongside. Ricardo van der Ender's BMW is on row 5. Josh Ratticum will line up alongside him in the McLaren, last year's silver champion. Ruben Del Sart comes next with Mathieu Detry alongside. Then you've got Stanislav Safronov and Edwin Hellstone with another of the quick Porsches. Clement Seiler returning to GT4 in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans entry alongside Nathan Van Springel. Aston Miller's McLaren next with Frederic Capras for company. The next row is where you find Beckett Beschler's BMW, quite a long way back by the standards of both him and the team. Gabriele Ilkova's Toyota next ahead of the Pro-Am winner of race 1 in Paul Ricard, Vinny Beltramelli and Nico Ferrarat. Max Kronberg's on the outside of that row ahead of Urian de Bach and then Callum Davis. A row further back is Andy Cantu with Jagish Gedich alongside. Hugo Moccia's Ginetta has the Lotus of Stefano Dasti for company. Then David Kuhlmann on row 15 and Victor Bouveng lining up alongside. Next comes Elias Niskanen and then Lucas Cartel alongside him. Then the BMW of Davide Meloni, the other BMW is the AM leading car in the championship. Jean-Mathieu Leandri alongside. On the 18th row, Hans Holman goes solo. Christopher Brunhagen starts his sister Toyota Gazoo Racing Sweden entry ahead of Daniel Drexel and then Igor Sorokin. Julien Ripper is on row 20 with Stefan Nielsen for company. Ajith Kumar goes solo from row 21 with Sergio Nicola alongside, and Vasily Vladikin should be at the back of the grid. But I'm not entirely convinced that that car was there. I'll have a look when they come back up towards the timing line. Even so, whether it's 42 or 43, it's going to be very, very busy indeed. And Ajith Kumar racing here for the first time, working his way now up towards turn number 8.
Last time he was sat in the car, it was in the gravel trap, wasn't it, on the exit of turn 10, so the team would have cleared all that gravel out and they would have told him what he did wrong. We then shift to another Porsche. This one is on the front row. Hendrik still, we saw how aggressive he was at Ricard. What's going through his mind right now? He's got Gilbert in that very quick Audi, but we know the Audi works its tyres hard, so even if he doesn't lead into turn 1, I think Hendrik still has an opportunity to do well in this race at the end of this first stint.
So the cars now getting themselves into that 2x2 formation, and they'll wriggle their way down towards the right-hander at turn 13. You can see drivers accelerating and then braking just to try and urge a bit more warmth from tyres into brakes, brakes into tyres, and then they'll be good to go once the lead car bails for the pit lane. So pole position, Greg Gilbert's Audi, Hendrik Still's Porsche on the outside. Just going back to the Pro-Am battle quickly, Hendrik Still qualifying second on the grid, and the opposition, Mathieu Detry, lines up 12th. So already there are quite a few cars, but Hendrik still wants to maintain as big a gap as is possible. So up to the timing line they crawl. The lights, when they go green, will get the race underway. Then people can start thinking about track position, where they're going to make the move. The run down to Tarzan hairpin, always a key part of the lap, particularly the opening lap, and then the next sequence of corners up towards the bank, turn 3, also absolutely vital to try to gain track position when everybody is so tightly bunched like this. So Greg Gilbert ups the pace, gets the drop slightly on Hendrik Still as they come towards the lights, which are on red. Now they go green, we go racing. Not a mega getaway by Hendrik Still. Up the inside line, tries to go Benjamin Lariche, but there's a big Mustang in the way. And now Hendrik Still on the outside line, tries to brave it out with Greg Gilbert on the inside line. He's not going to be able to do that, so Gilbert leads the way. The drone then battles its way through midfield. You're looking down to the kink at turn 2. Then they go right and head towards the Hugenholz box for the first time. So Greg Gilbert in the lead, and into second place, looked like being Hendrik Still, just.
Yeah, pretty tame start, well driven by everyone. They stayed 2x2 all the way through turn 1, and Still has put himself in second, 3 wide now as they run through the dunes, 6 and 7. The Supra there trying to tuck in behind one of the Aston Martins. It looked like the elite McLaren down the inside of the speed car. Audi backs out of it, thinks better of it. One of the BMWs up on the curb, big slide there as well. I think that was Van der Ende as well. You can see a BMW in the background, smoke. Porsche moving slowly as well, the 259
it's got a puncher,
guy, yeah, hasn't it? I'm not sure, even looks like he's going to be able to continue there. That's going to be a hard one for the racetrack to call what to do there.
Julien de Bac limping round, so there's been a brush somewhere between him and another. Yellow flag then in that middle sector as the Porsche crawls on, and the safety car deployed, so maybe others have been involved in that. There might be some debris on the road as well, but straight away, safety car deployed then in this opening GT4 race, and that, one of the two Borusan Automotive BMWs going no further. The Porsche was ground to a halt on track, trying to piece together which of the BMs it is. It's 11, it's the Jagish Gedich car. So Borusan Automotive, the Turkish team, have lost one on the opening lap, and to get 2 cars off the circuit, safety car called straight away.
Yeah, quick decision. I think as soon as that Porsche ground to a halt on the apex curb at number 7, that was almost the only option, while the race director had a chance, safety car position towards the end of the lap to pick them up on this first lap in case something like that happens. But it was a clean start up until that point, and I think we've only lost a couple of cars from what I can see.
So they come then now through turn 13. You're right, just those 2 cars we are aware of have stopped. So at the end of lap number 1, it's Greg Gilbert in the lead from Hendrik Still, Eric Evans 3rd, Luc Ibanez 4th, Adrien David is up into 5th, Leland Gabay 6th, 7th, Ricardo van der Ende, and Benjamin Lariche has got shuffled back in the pack down to 8th, having started on the 3rd row. So he started 5th, he's 8th at the end of the opening lap. In 9th place behind him is Josh Rassican, the reigning silver champion, and up into 10th is Mathieu Detry in number 27 Porsche.
Yeah, sometimes the inside just concertinas up, and I wonder if that's what's happened to Lariche there. He was playing conservative on the third row, but if everyone's checked up in front of them and he's got nowhere to go, it's a horrible feeling. You just get boxed in. It's like when you're on a motorway trying to choose which lane's moving fastest in a traffic jam, and it doesn't matter which one you choose, it's always the wrong one.
So right now, everybody weaving around. This is a replay of the start. Have a look. Lariche was very quick to dive to the inside. Hendrik still didn't really duck in behind Greg Gilles there. He tried to stand his ground on the outside. Luke Ibanez also on that outside line, kind of committed. So they were all good round turn one. It was later in the lap where it got a bit busy.
Yeah, I think it was the Toyota of Gabby that maybe swept across the inside of him and just took what he wanted line-wise. See if there's any contact here. It's between these two cars in shot, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. I think it's later on towards turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, that Porsche, the blue and white one, just under the drone, was the one with the puncture. And there is Jagish Gedich, who has parked the other side of turn 7. So that car needs retrieval as well. But at the moment, it's getting the Porsche off the apex of the corner that's going to be the immediate concern. But the BMW doesn't look damaged, so it must be something pretty serious in the drivetrain, I guess, that stopped it, because it doesn't look like bodywork damage. It's got through the corner and then pulled off.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's side-to-side contact between those two cars, so it's something that we can't quite see, but yeah, quite easy to do a drive shaft, for example. If there's a big impact on one of the rear wheels and it suddenly stops, it's enough to break one of the joints in the CV joint, could go all the way through the differential into the gearbox even, and yeah, that's a tough way, isn't it? Been waiting around all day, these GT4 drivers, it feels, to get their chance, and some of the drivers only getting half a lap.
Yeah, so two cars out, one didn't start, and the field under the safety car then. All of this, of course, does count within the hour, so the drivers wanting to get on with it, especially people like Hendrik Still, who want as much track time as they can to give a good position, a good gap for their co-driver. At least if a safety car has to come in your stint, you want it early, so you can then have as many laps the other side of it to stretch the margin. If it comes at the end of your stint, then all the hard work's been completely for nothing. To the timing line they come then, up past the pits. And so Greg Gilles there leading the way. The leading Pro-Am behind him is Hendrik Still, and the leading Am is Max Kronberg, who was Hendrik Still's co-driver last year. And 22nd is Max Kronberg in the leading Am Cup entry, number 30 Porsche, that he shares with Daniel Blickler. So the safety car completes lap number 2. The gaps are rather immaterial at the moment, but you've got the Audi, Porsche, Ford, Mercedes, Toyota, Porsche, BMW, Audi, McLaren, Porsche, top 10. Start replay on board with Ajith Kumar down towards turn 1.
Yeah, a bit of a lock-up in front, and he's understandably tentative into turn 1, doesn't want to get caught up in any accidents. Tyres will still be coming up to temperature 2. You can see all those cars, 41 of them streaming. There's the dust. We're talking about cars running offline, kicking that dust up. You can see all the hand movements. He's not confident with where the grip is at the moment. The driver trying to feel the grip through the steering wheel and work out how much he can do. And then the contact between that Porsche and BMW will be happening somewhere up ahead of us any time now. And the marshalling will be probably waving a yellow flag. I suspect you can see the flag out there on his left, and you can see why one of the polystyrene boards destroyed. Everyone going to the left of the track. There's the Porsche, and then you're going to see the BMW somewhere on the right there as well, just stopping. Looked like smoke coming from the rear right of that BMW.
So rear right of the BMW, and it was a left rear puncture on the Porsche. Either way, they are both out of the race, and there Greg Gilles then leads the pack under safety car conditions right now, and the marshals as rapidly as they can trying to get the circuit clear, and a red flag is now being shown. So this is taking longer than anticipated, and is there some barrier damage as well, I wonder? But it might be that the clear-up operation is going to take so long that it would leave the drivers with barely any stint time at all, but it didn't look all that serious.
No, I was surprised by that one. So there's obviously a lot of external influences at play here. These cars sometimes just locking gear as well. Automatic gearbox, very road car in their basis. So if that happens and the recovery isn't as easy as just dragging it out of the way and the car needs a full lift, that can easily take 10 or 15 minutes, and maybe the race director isn't happy with where that recovery vehicle would have to be on circuit to recover them. Even under safety car can only be my logical explanation on that one.
So all the cars will follow the safety car to the pit lane, and then one assumes that when we can, the race will resume. We'll be back in business. All the cars are in parc fermé condition, so nobody can touch them. And we'll await news as to why a red flag, and indeed how long we are going to be under red flag conditions like this. The circuit does have a curfew as well here on noise, so it'll be interesting to see how long the race is resumed for, if and when. The clock for the moment is carrying on ticking, but one would assume that, well, let us assume nothing really at the moment until race control confirm. So down the pit lane they come. Normally the clock stops, but it may be that we can't do that here because of the curfew. So down the pit lane comes Greg Gilbert, Hendrik Still, Eric Evans, the top three. And there the drivers come into the pit lane. And we understand from race control that the red flag is there so that the drivers do get a sensible amount of racing rather than this first stint effectively being a long safety car period and they hardly getting any racing laps in at all.
Which is logical if they stop the clock, so the clock's just disappeared, so maybe they're going to reset that somewhere down at sort of 53, 54 minutes, so good decision by race control. The only problem is that curfew. Like you said, the clock has now been stopped and put back up at 53 minutes, so that's all looking good. Curfew's in an hour and 21 minutes time, so we still have 30 minutes, and I guess they can recover those cars so much faster as well. With all the cars in pit lane, they can work at sort of free will.
I wonder if there is any barrier damage as well, because you wouldn't have thought that it was going to take too long to hoik a couple of cars out of the way that weren't in gravel or didn't seem to have too much damage. But it might be if one of them bashed off an Armco that also needs the supports behind it to be repaired, which is where the time can be taken. So now the cars are in parc fermé conditions. Drivers will want to know how long they're going to be sat in the cars for. Can they get out or not? There's a long, long queue of cars all the way down the pit lane.
Yeah, I can see a few people getting near cars as well. You've got to make sure you don't touch them. If you touch a car in parc fermé conditions, that can be disqualification.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've learnt that in my years. So, yeah, we can see it's that Callum Davis, yes, just sat there on the radio to the team, just probably asking for a bit of an update. All of these drivers, I think, will be surprised by that red flag. They'll be thankful because they will get more racing themselves in this first stint, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting restart. The cars will be changing their pressures and brake temps now, so the drivers will be thinking, what have I got to do to get these back up to temp? Are we going to get one formation up? We're going to go green straight after this, or a couple of safety car laps? There's a few unknowns here.
Yeah, exactly. So one would assume, as I said earlier on, that once the circuit is clear, the cars will leave the pit lane, the clock will carry on, and the race will resume. So effectively what we have now is a race suspension rather than a stoppage. And the fans of Ajith Kumar dealing with the blustery conditions on top of the pit lane, on the viewing area, looking down onto the pits. There is Hendrik Still opening the door to get a bit of fresh air into the car and awaiting, like everybody else, news as to the resumption of the race. Joel Doval, the race director, very experienced race official, so he's made that call and trying to give people as many racing laps rather than just spending the time behind the safety car. Let's hear from Lotus driver Alberto Nasca next in the pits with Alex.
Hello, Alberto. Thought I would go around and chat with you while we are stuck in the red flag zone. Good qualifying yesterday. Let's talk about that first.
Not good qualifying at all. Q2 was better.
Hang on,
yeah,
Q2.
Tomorrow I can say it was a better qualifying. Yeah, Q1 totally bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Race rubbish.
yeah, I mean, we had some big problems with the BOP because with these bigger tires this year, we're forced to drive 2 centimeters higher than the limit. And usually in motorsports, high car is low car. And so we had to invent different setups and different regulations. We had some technical issues in qualifying 1, so we couldn't express our potential. In qualifying 2, it went a bit better. We're still far from where we want to go, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, fair enough. So Stefano D'Aste is in the car right now. Just talk to me about, as a driver, from your perspective, when you know, when you're red flagged, you're going through, you've barely got any, you know, any rubber down. What's it like out there to then get back into the groove, if you like?
I mean, as soon as you jump on the car and start to drive, everything resets, and so you're ready. The most boring part is waiting, you know. As Stephen McQueen said, racing is life. Anything before happens, or anything before or after is just waiting. So waiting is boring. Racing.
I guess this is the better choice, right, than going round and round under yellow flag. You know, you can go back out and race.
Yeah, it's better to stay on the pit lane and rest because, yeah, warming the tires on the safety car. I usually want to, you know, want to vomit when I'm behind the safety car warming up the tires. So much better like this.
It like mimic sim conditions.
Yeah.
So tell me about Zandvoort and Lotus. Does it favour you guys, or could it favour you, particularly with your better situation tomorrow?
We still don't know because as long as we're not driving in the proper setup and balance conditions, where, you know, it's like sailing in the fog. You don't know where you're going. You just hope you're going the right way, hoping not to crash into the beach. And that's what we're doing now. But the team is incredible. I mean, we have such good engineers that every step we do, it's a big step forward. So I'm really happy about that. And, you know, I always saw Zandvoort on the televisions, and I say, wow, those huge bankings are huge. But as long as you don't come here and walk, you don't understand how huge they are. I mean, the last corner, you just exit the penultimate corner, and then you're like this. And when you go on the last corners, everything shifts like this. You say, oh my God, what's going on? The world is upside down. It's, what's going on? And I can't imagine racing in a NASCAR, in an oval in Daytona, staying all the time like this. That's the strangest feeling I've ever had, really.
Alberto, you and Stefano, what a pair. Thank you very much.
Great character, isn't he? Alberto Nasca. We are into 10 minutes before the restart, or the resumption, I should say, really, of the race. So 10 minutes and counting. And the cars all lined up, good to go. So the teams will be notified of the resumption of the race process, and then the safety car will bring them back out. So into the final 10 minutes, while cars are removed, barriers are made safe, and this hiatus, if you like, does mean that they'll have probably one, maybe 2 laps behind that safety car, things back up to temperature, let them go, so they'll get a proper amount of racing laps in before the window.
Yeah, it's good, but still in part foamy conditions. And Alberto, they're talking about the driver just sat there chilled. It's actually quite awkward because now they've had to turn the cars off to save the battery. You've got no communication with the team. The radio's dead. So you're kind of having to fly blind. If you left the car on ignition state for the radio, you'd drain the battery, but you turn it off, you don't know when to turn it back on potentially. So you do feel like you're just sat around waiting for an unknown time to happen. Teams can go near the car and try and communicate by shouting, but yeah, not many teams getting anywhere near the cars. They don't want to risk the penalty of breaking part firmly.
So the 10-minute message came onto the timing screens at 17:41. It's 17:45 now, so a few more minutes yet. Now there's the Jagisch BMW on the flatbed. That was the car that made it the other side of turn 7, and from that angle, looks as though, yeah, the front right corner is all buckled and broken, doesn't it? Punctured tyre, damaged suspension. So the BMW retrieved. The Porsche number 259 of Julien de Bach also.
It was great for them.
Let's go to the grid. Alex Legui is down there. So too is Joachim Bolting, who will take over the Pro-Am pole Porsche from Hendrik Still. Let's hear from Joachim now.
Well, here we are again. It's time to speak to Joachim Bolting yet again, because you've done it. You boys are back on the front row.
Yeah.
Can you convert it this time?
I think we will try.
Yeah, I mean, not really that hot. It's similar to here, to be honest.
You know, us, it's really hot, trust me.
Yeah, hot there is like 19 degrees. For me, that's my winter in Brazil. Okay. It's like Brazilian winter, 22 degrees, 20 degrees. So I miss that weather.
Fair enough. Right, tell me, boys, yesterday qualifying wasn't that great. I'd expect you to be up a little bit of a sharper end. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it was quite close the gap, but we finished, in my qualifying was P7. We changed, now the BOP is a bit better for us for the race. I think it's our first time here with the Aston. We didn't have much testing, but I'm confident now with this BOP we can do a good job in the race and try to finish at least in the podium.
It's not an easy circuit. Does it suit the Aston?
I mean, yesterday we were 7 kilometers slow in the straight, so that was our main problem, just in the first sector. In the corners was perfect. Now we have a better engine map, so for sure it's going to be better for the race.
All right, have a good race.
Thank you.
And that race will resume in 5 minutes. The Parc Fermé has been open, so now the teams you can see are going to the cars. This is where they can say to the drivers, okay, you need your engine on in a few minutes, and making sure that if there's anything that needs taping up or repairing, they can do some hasty repairs. There are 1 or 2 teams asking if they can have a little bit of attention done. So the Parc Fermé conditions lifted, and 5 minutes to the resumption of the race, or now 4, because we are rattling down. There is one of the cars that needed some work doing, 81 McLaren, sitting in the pit lane. That's the Aston Miller Julius Dynasson car. Aston Miller at the wheel of it, another graduate of the School of Hard Knocks, aka the Ginetta Junior Championship in the UK.
Yeah, race lap working away. Aston had lost 4 positions on that opening lap, which is very un-Aston Miller-like, and I think I can see why. I think he's been loaded up and probably into a sort of a half spin, that amount of damage, but the diffuser not looking happy on the back of that McLaren Artura, so hopefully they can get enough tape and fixings on that to make it last another 53 minutes.
So everybody else then is attending to the cars or making sure the driver is happy, and of course the order in the pit lane is the order they all came in, the order they will leave, the race situation. That's the McLaren still having the last bit of work done towards the rear of the car. What about the Robert Consani Benjamin Lariche Audi? That's currently 8th, and Robert Consani is with Alex in the pit lane.
It's perfect.
We're right in the middle of a very serious conversation here about my accent. I thought I was speaking good English.
No, my English is very, very bad. I'm sorry for everybody, but I'm not there for speak about my accent or my English.
No, okay.
He's very disappointed to stop the race after 7 minutes, but it's okay.
We were just discussing how frustrating it must be as a driver to stop Alex so early on and then have this long delay, particularly when the track conditions are changing quite considerably right now. And
yeah, but it's better to stop to continue with the safety car, because if you continue with safety car, the race run, and it's not fair for all the driver.
yeah.
But now it's okay. Less 5 minutes and it's okay.
Does it affect you and Benjamin at all mentally? Because I think for me, I feel like it would.
I don't understand everything, but yeah, I think you need to take a good start with the safety car. You need to have a good gap between the front car, and it's okay.
Hope it goes well.
So former rally driver Robert Consani looking at his car that he's currently in 8th place, Benjamin Lariche sitting behind the wheel. And they've come so close to winning this championship. Regular bridesmaids, good, very quick combination, race winners, and wring the neck out of the Audi. There, number 2, Porsche of Edwin Helston, that he shares with Daniel Nilsson. That car in 14th place. That is Stanislav Safronov's Aston Martin, which is 15th. Gabriela Yurkova's 16th placed Toyota Supra. That's the car shared with Cindy Goudet. 1 minute to go before the resumption of the race. Next in the queue is Vinny Beltramelli's Porsche. Right, pit lane is open. Safety car will lead them out. So we are back under safety car conditions for the resumption of the race, and the clock is ticking again. So the safety car will take them around. They can go back to the grid. The race carries on from here on in.
Yeah, the sun's out and everything now, so different conditions for the drivers than they finished 10 minutes ago. Keeping an eye on track temp. The wind is constant, blowing offshore for us, so yeah, it's still going to stay slippy. There's that Aston Miller car, the damage we saw them with part of the diffuser in hand. That definitely won't help the performance for Aston. And be interesting to see who hit him, because I expect a fair amount of damage on the front end.
We've gone back to a red flag. So we had got the safety car, the clock was ticking, and now we've gone back to a red flag. And nobody has left the pit lane.
And the clock has gone back
to 53 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah, so I can't explain that one instantly. But we did have the race effectively back underway, and now they're going out, and the clock hasn't started. Now it has. Crikey. So here we are. We've had another go at this. Safety car conditions. There was some issue in getting things moving, but we are now. So the race is back underway. We are behind the safety car, but the race now resumes from that 53 minutes and 14 second point. Race order remains the same.
Simple. Easy as that. Let's get racing. That'll be fun, won't it? Who do I think is going to be aggressive at the start? I think Benjamin Lariche. We said he's lost 3 places. He will want to be on the front end, but Ricardo van der Ende in front is no easy target to overtake. You can see those two exiting turn 4. They're all working for tyre temp. They wouldn't have been anywhere near optimal before the red flag, and now we've sat there for just over 10 minutes, so it's almost back to square one with getting these tyres into the temperature. It's a hard ask to the drivers because you are wanting to weave to generate something and clean them, but every time you weave off the racing line, you're potentially getting more dirt on the tyres, so sometimes doing more harm than good. And beautiful shot from the drone once more, showing us through this conservation area in Zandvoort, and yeah, you can see why we get some of the noise complaints here, even though the circuit's been here since 1948.
So, race back on, and possibly one more lap behind the safety car, just to get everybody up to speed, get a bit of warmth into the tyres. They don't want to have too many laps, because that rather negates the whole purpose of red flagging it, doesn't it? So that was done to give people ample race time, rather than have an entire stint behind the safety car. So, maybe one more lap, but Greg Gilbert from Hendrick still is the order. The incident between Jagish Gedich and Julian de Bach is going to be looked at after the race.
It's going to be a late evening for the stewards, isn't it? The curfew at 7 o'clock for noise, but they will work well into the evening to get that, and that's before we've finished this 51 minutes remaining with what have we got left now, 40 cars on track.
Yeah, we're not done yet, are we? There are plenty more incidents that might be there. Even though the sun is shining, there are also some rather menacing looking dark clouds not that far away from the circuit, so let's hope we can get through without the rain falling, because that's going to be another drama that the teams and the race control squad could do without. Looking there onto the exit of the final corner, you can see the car parks on one side, the hotels and the holiday resorts on the other, past the big grandstand. You've got the skid pan in the background as well. And as you come past the pits, on the right-hand side is the bank turn 3.
It's a very tightly packaged circuit, isn't it? It really loops around itself, makes the paddock very intimate. You can see all the trucks having to try and get their hospitality units up on the inside there. And you've got the pit lane exit as well, just the other side of that wall at turn 1, which is quite a good visual. You can see after the pit stops where people are going to slot in straight away.
Safety car in this lap. So drivers vigorously weaving to get the warmth into the tyres. Greg Gilbert then leads. We've done 4 laps, although a number of them have been behind the safety car. So we're going to go racing with, what, 46, 47 minutes maybe on the clock. Pit window doesn't need to be delayed unless the safety car is on track at the time of the pit stop window. So fingers crossed we'll go back racing and we won't need the safety car again in this race. You're on board currently then in number 32, which is the Hendrick Still Porsche, running in 2nd place. Greg Gilbert's Audi just up the road.
You can hear him working the engine as hard as you can hear the brakes and the tyres. I think he's just realised he might be in our shot there, but appreciate it. He's wearing a high vis.
Off you go, chap. Out of the way. Yes. Anthony de Barn and Julien Leandri's BMW going through. That's the car that leads AM in the championship, but Julien Leandri 3rd in class in the race, behind Hans Hommeland, who is 2nd, and Max Kronberg, who is the AM class leader right now. Out of turn 8 they come then. We saw when we were on board with Hendrick Still the yellow safety car message flashing in the car as well. So drivers fully aware of what's going on around the circuit. Benjamin Lariche turns through, reigning champion Josh Ratigan behind him there in the 11th place is the Ginetta in the hands of Nicolas Siama. Right, so the lights go out on top of the safety car. It will make its way down towards the pit lane. It is then up to Greg Gilbert to control the pace. Hendrick Still sitting right up behind. And Greg Gilbert, I think little naughty in terms of going and slowing there, because once you accelerate, you are meant to keep accelerating. I know they're going at a very slow speed, but from a high speed to then slow right down just causes mayhem behind as everybody suddenly has to brake, like you have on a motorway situation. And Gilbert then floors the throttle coming out of the Hans Ernst box and steals a lovely gap over Hendrik Still, but Eric Evans is stuck there. You can't overtake until he gets to the timing line. So Greg Gilbert timed that beautifully. Look at the gap he's pulled as they come up towards the timing line to get the race back underway at the end of lap number 5. And so Greg Gilbert, Hendrik Still, Eric Evans is the order. And quite a few gaps have opened up, look, all the way through the field. Some drivers on their toes more than others.
I think that's because Gilbert was braking, accelerating, like you said. He gave it a big stamp on the brake at turn 12 through the chicane and then just went. And borderline whether that's going to attract an investigation, I think, because once you can't deviate the speed that much, and he did it multiple times, and I think that was the main reason Hendrik still wasn't going, because he was on the brake not to go in the rear of that Audi. Yeah. He was on the full throttle. Another Audi trying that low line on Van der Engel. It's not going to work. Looks so promising, like we keep saying, but it just never seems to stick.
Right, Bo's back on then. This is lap 6. 47 minutes are on the clock after that interruption for the red flag, and Greg Gilbert then led over the timing line by 0.7 of a second as Nathan Van Springel's Ford Mustang then charges its way up past Vinnie Beltramelli. A change there for 17th place. The Ford Mustang looks good, sounds good, and the nice thing is this year they're run by different teams. And the other BMW, look, Beke Bechler in the surviving Borusan Automotive bright blue M4 up the inside. Beltramelli loses another place.
Yeah, great move. That Mustang had a huge slide as well under braking. Looks like the Porsche is going to get attacked as well into turn number 8 there. They're going to close the door. McLaren all over the back of this Audi of Lariche has not had a good start to this race, has he? I thought he was going to be on the front foot, but he is dropping back, and could be up to losing more than the 3 spaces he's lost already.
And now Hendrik Still is busy defending from Eric Evans, so Greg Gilbert getting away. The Audi leading that up towards the end of lap number 6, and of course he's also building this lap to be the best yet, the first proper flying lap we've really had. And look at the gap, it was 0.7 over the stripe. It's going to be double that, if not more, when Greg Gilbert comes through with Hendrik Still chasing after him. Eric Evans there, 3rd, 4th is Luc Ibanez, 5th Adrien David. Alain Gabay is in 6th place. They come through, and the lead gap then, Gilbert to Hendrik Still, is now 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, the cars all looking very even. Straight line performance between them all, from the Porsche, from the Mustang, from that Mercedes to the Supra to the Aston. So yeah, it's going to be hard at the moment to pick who's on the move. Hendrik Still looks like he's settling into a bit more of the rhythm, running so high. We are seeing track limit warnings if cars go over that white line, so they'll need to be careful of that indiscretion as well. And at the moment, looks like Evans is just starting to pull away from Ibanez behind him.
Really impressive, isn't it, the way the cars are absolutely on the limit. You can see them all loaded up as they come over the brow towards turn 7. So Greg Gilbert 1.8 seconds clear of Hendrik Still, and Greg Gilbert is storming. But Benjamin Lariche, you were getting concerned about him in 8th place when he's done the absolute best first sector, but he has dropped off the tail of Ricardo van der Ende. So Lariche now trying to rebuild the race, as it were, as the Aston Martin battle then goes through. Clement Seiler and Ruben Delsart running together. Aston's out of different teams, but the same base car. There you've got Luc Ibanez under attack from Adrien David in the Supra. So right now it is Audi, Porsche, Ford, Mercedes, Toyota, Porsche in the top 6.
Yeah, just watching the gap between Still and this lead Audi of Gilbert. It's still growing, not as extremely as it was on the lap before, but still going to grow by probably 0.4 on this lap. Hendrik Still worrying about these cars behind, but remember, these are silver class cars. He is Pro-Am, so this isn't his major fight, but he knows his best chance of keeping the gap to the next Pro-Am car behind him, with his Mathieu Detry down in 10th, is to stay in front of him.
So there is Gilbert over the line, and having done the fastest lap last time, a 1:43.1, he's still trying to build that gap over the opposition. It's up to 2.2 seconds now. Evans in 3rd, Ibanez in 4th, Adrien David 5th. First time he's raced a GT car here, fresh out of single-seaters for this season, and going nicely. You're right about the track limit warnings. There are more and more of them being racked up, and Eric Evans has just got one as well. In his case, turn 11, that's the chicane towards the end of the lap. Look again on that almost wall of death style banking, how wide, how high they run. But Hendrik still gets the drive off the corner. Gilbert now with 2.2 seconds worth of a gap. That Audi going really nicely.
Yeah, just completely different strategy to everyone else, it seems. They're just completely flat out. Lariche was quick on the last lap as well, so he's going to start to catch up. Look at the cars squirreling over that crest, and they rise, and that's completely blind to the driver. Until they arrive there, they don't really know where the next part of the track goes, and it's just a leap of faith.
So right now, you look at the battle with, at the back of the queue, Gabriele Ilkova. It is the Edwin Helston Porsche, and in the middle, Stanislav Safronov's Aston Martin. Therefore, 14, 15, 16, that the battle pack. There is the Toyota at the rear of it. Gabriele Ilkova in the Matmut Evolution run car, trying to find a way by, having raced in GT4 since 2021. Experienced campaigner these days. Cindy Goudet, 6 times the French hill climb champion, will take over for the second stint. And there is the number 5, Ruben Del Sart's Roberto Faria Aston. We heard from Roberto on the red flag, but Ruben Del Sart in 13th place, go back a long, long time, and his father, you will have come across racing in the UK in single-seaters, Formula First, that dates him, Formula 3. But now Ruben Del Sart carrying on the family tradition up towards the line. Big battle going on there as Stefano D'Aste in the Lotus tries to get past Hugo Mojica in the Ginetta.
Yeah, then allows the Mercedes from NM Racing to get a look on the inside. The Lotus closes the door, so they're going to have a straight line performance over the Ginetta. The Ginetta goes straight to the pit wall to cover off the inside. Lotus to the outside, Porsche to the outside of the 81 car there. Big slide of kick of oversteer as that car exits the corner. We know it's got some damage with Aston Miller behind the wheel, trying to hang on to that position with everything he can.
Yeah, Stefano D'Aste, very experienced driver, but that Lotus having had to adjust the way they run the car for the BOP for this year. Andy Cantu is in the Mercedes tucked behind, so this little battle pack, 25th, 26th, 27th, and they're pretty much nose to tail with David Kuhlmann's Aston joining in as well behind. Still the classes, Greg Gilbert, Hendrik Still and Max Kronberg, the class leaders. So although we've had quite a lot of battling since the race resumed, class lead has not changed, and we're about, what, 6 minutes or so now away from the pit window opening as this Ginetta, Lotus, Mercedes AMG, Aston Martin fight continues from turn 8.
Yeah, the Lotus cluttering the curb there, not liking it on the landing. It was bouncing all over the place. His eyeballs will be reverberating inside of his skull and trying to blink them back into focus as quickly as you can. And this battle still raging on here. The sole remaining BMW from the Turkish team doing well there down the inside, then converts the move. Job done. That was a nice clean overtake.
So battle on. BMW and Ford. Nathan Van Springel trying to fight back as best he can, but Beke Bessler, having got through in that BMW, which he knows very well as a car, should be able to drive away from him. That's your AM leader, Max Kronberg, sharing this year with Daniel Blickler, and Max Kronberg is quite a long way up the road from Hans Holmlund, the soloist in the Toyota. Second in the class as the cars come off that banking. You were hearing Alberto Nasca talking about how the world almost puts you upside down. Max Kronberg, the leading out from Hans Holmlund, and then Jean-Mathieu Leandri in 3rd place. The Lotus is on the attack. Stefano D'Aste has a rather cheeky look up the inside there to get past the Ginetta of Hugo Mojica to no avail. And there, 3rd and 4th, side by side they ran. That's Eric Evans going back ahead of Luc Ibanez with Adrien David in the mix as well in the Toyota Supra. Yeah, Ibanez must have got the move done at turn 3, but then compromised his exit and allowed Evans to power past in the Mustang to reclaim that final podium position at the moment. But does look like the Mustang's starting to lose some pace, and David is just sat there waiting to pounce if these two start to trip over each other too much. Greg Gilbert's safety car restart is under investigation. So this is how Ibanez got the move done, right up the inside, and he made it stick just about, but then the Mustang comes back and he's able to get the run all the way through Hunsrück and retake the place. So yeah, we talked about it at the time, the way that Greg Gilbert was going and slowing, and it's going to be looked at by the stewards. I'm not surprised. I think it's a penalty. Okay. The advantage of doing it is massive, and you physically saw it, but the risk versus reward isn't right, and I think it's going to be a penalty. What do I think the penalty is? I think it could be as much as a drive-through, could be as little as 5 seconds, and it'll probably be somewhere in the middle as battles rage on all the way down the field. And Stefan D'Aste has got past that Ginetta and has made good. I was trying to work out where he was gone. He's made so much time on this lap. I couldn't quite believe he'd passed and probably gapped him by 1.5 seconds or so already. And that Ginetta is really hanging on. We saw that car looking very lively under braking into the next corner. Let's see if it's the same as he brakes. The car was skirling left to right, which is quite rare for a Ginetta, which is normally sure-footed. You can see it again. Look at that. It is like a dog wagging a tail, but that tail has got a 10-kilo lead weight on it, and it is fishtailing all over the place. I have
not the slightest clue of why the car is doing that. I can only assume it's some kind of wheel speed issue, and the ABS is confusing itself as he potentially loses the place. Now he hangs it around the outside, but that car, if you were riding on board with it, would be a scary place to be there. Be hitting the brakes, doing 220, 230 kilometers an hour, and it is going left to right, then left to right, and eventually it kind of calms itself down. But a strange dynamic to watch from the outside.
And there, about to lose out possibly, because at the inside look goes Leandri, tries to get himself up through on the inside line, so drivers shuffling the order. Inevitably, the speed car team saying, why are we under investigation? Well, you know, nothing wrong with our safety car restart. Race control will offer a verdict, and the stewards will have a look. So right now, we are nudging towards the pit window, just under 3 minutes before people can pit. This is the fight for third. It's been a good battle. Eric Evans and Luc Ibanez running together. Mustang versus Mercedes AMG. The Mustang just ahead, the Ford powering its way there now off turn 16. If any car is designed for a back part of the circuit, it's an American Yank tank, isn't it? Over the line then goes Hendrik still clear in Pro-Am. Evans, Ibanez fighting for third overall, second in silver, and Hadrien David has dropped off the back a little bit. Here's the replay of the restart on board with Hendrik still.
I mean, just count how many times you're seeing the brake lights go, and it's the one after this one. I think that's it's the second one, sorry. So breaks it up and then just goes now. It's more than I remember.
Yeah.
9, 10 occasions of hitting the brakes, and the final one he then accelerates hard, so he can't get away with the excuse, I was just braking to get tyre temp, brake temp. That was a proper concertina, everyone up, and see you later.
In a sense, though, surprising that somebody of Greg Gilvert's experience did that, because he knows what the penalty is, to use your phrase, the risk and reward aspect of it. Anyway, it is done, and it is under investigation. News will come, no doubt. So right now, you're looking at the fight for third place. Eric Evans ahead of Luc Ibanez, who thought about the inside and then thought better of it, because if you get clattered into by a Mustang, it's going to hurt. It's a big car. Ibanez, though, switches sides, tries to get up the inside there, going into turn 10. But there is not the Mercedes AMG shaped gap. Eric Evans, British GT4 champion a couple of years ago, able to hang on to that place.
Yeah, driving really well with the car. It doesn't seem to have the pace at the moment. They're going to have to finish this lap, and after that the pit window opens and they'll be able to dive into the box and potentially change the tyre pressures while they change driver.
So the grunt and go Mustang ahead of the Mercedes, and even though they're squabbling, Hadrien David's Toyota is not coming back at them. He was on the tail on the restart. He's fallen back a little bit. 1 minute before pit window opens. So at the end of the next lap, we can realistically expect people to get out of the traffic, or if they put their slower driver in first, do the pit stop and then relay the quick driver for the bulk of the race. Race leaders go by. 12 laps are in the book, lead gap 2.4 seconds, but Hendrik still clear in his class, doing a good job. Second overall, it is this fight.
मिस्टर वेके वाला कब तो चुप करना था सोचा इट विल बी सुप्रीम लेकिन हम दोनों के हॉलिडे चॉइसेस और दो अलग एक्सट्रीम्स मुझे चाहिए रोमांटिक ट्रिप और बॉयफ्रेंड को चाहिए समंदर में डिप इतने सारे चॉइसेस आखिर क्या करूं मैं क्लिक
रिलैक्स मैंने क्या बताया था लास्ट टाइम
स्ट्रेस भगाने के लिए गोडा
और जी कैसी चल रही छुट्टी गोवा में
मिस्टर वेके वाला व्हाट अ छुट्टी मेरा क्यूटी और विटामिन सी
प्लान योर परफेक्ट छुट्टी विद अगोड़ा
अगोड़ा दुनिया देखो कम दाम में
हे இன்னைக்கு பார்ட்டில ஓஎஸ்ஏ யாருமே கண்டுக்கல
அப்படியே பிரியாணி யாரும் கண்டுக்கல போல இருக்கே
better than in Paul Ricard because in Paul
they've all pretty much missed the opening of the window on that lap, but at the end of this one the pit lane might get busy. Luc Ibanez charging along in that fourth place. He's done an absolute best first sector. But would it be advisable for him to come in at the end of this lap to get out of traffic, bearing in mind he's quicker than his co-driver? This is for the teams to try and work out now. Are they losing time by being stuck behind relative to putting somebody that's not quite so quick in for that stint, putting him in relatively early?
Yeah, I mean, Ibanez just did the fastest sector one out of anyone out there, so he's maybe just about in enough free air with Evans not holding him up. With the pit stops, you obviously got to discount. Everyone's done one. That was the red flag restart pit stop, so we need everyone to do 2 pit stops on that illustration. No one taking to the pit lane yet. That's the top 6 through. As we go back to this battle further back, the Giannetta's lost another couple of spaces now, hasn't it? And it's now dropped outside the top 27. Battle's raging on all the way through the field.
Pretty much everybody has a playmate, apart from Greg Gilvert in this race, who is now 2.3 seconds to the good. Ruben Del Sart has come in, Beke Bechler has come in, So we have got some pit stops. The Ginetta, I think, is coming in as well, looking at the rather tighter line that it employs coming off the corner. So, yep, in comes Callum Davis's McLaren and the Hugo Mojica Ginetta down pit lane as well. So now the order starts to shuffle.
Yeah, and actually the Ginetta flicked an indicator on. Great peace of mind and good idea to make sure everyone was ready. Here we see the pit stop at play, tyre pressure adjustment on the front left, driver change going on, drivers helping each other in. 5 belts to do, window net, radio, potentially a drinks tube as well. Aston Martin stopping very close to what we'd call the blend line, deciding don't want to be too far in, potentially getting boxed in, but gives the mechanics a long way to get back to the white line. You can see on the left-hand side of the shot, they're waiting for their minimum pit stop time to elapse before they will release.
So there's the race leading Greg Gilbert going out of turn 8, Hendrick still second. Eric Evans third, Luc Ibanez fourth, fifth Adrien David, sixth Elon Gabay, seventh is the BMW of Ricardo van der Ende. Under attack now from Benjamin Lariche, but many of these drivers now having to think about the end of their stint because the clock is marching on. And 78 seconds for the pit stop, that's the regulation time that they have to adhere to.
Yeah, and it looks like our first cars have been very good. Farrier was only 1.1 over Piana, 1.8 seconds over. See those counters going over. Hart slightly under. Are they going to use the joker there? You can't use a joker to allow you. They were half a second under their pit stop time there.
Yeah, the joker is 1 second tolerance, but you can only use it in one race. So if you do it again in tomorrow's race, then it would be a penalty. So Greg Gilbert continues to lead. Now, of course, cars coming out of the pits, getting mixed up with those that are a lap up and involved in a big battle. So suddenly what you thought you were racing against can be interrupted by having to dodge around the traffic. There is Lariche, then mired in 8th place. That car, oddly, just not having the same get up and go, seemingly, as the sister car that leads the race. Out of the same team, different colour scheme, but Greg Gilbert's car operated by Team Speed Car. And that is away and gone, 2.2 seconds up the road from Hendrick still, and the gap between the Audis is over 9 seconds now between Gilbert and Lariche.
Yeah, obviously the same team, but the drivers can influence the setup they want from the car, and maybe it's just a different way, but Hendrick's still's pace is coming back slightly. It feels like he's getting that gap smaller. Ibanez still tucked up behind Evans, who does look like he's catching still as well. So maybe starting to come back to him a bit, Evans, and that Toyota David has dropped away slightly, hasn't it? And then there's that battle pack headed up by another Ginetta. Seems to be struggling on race pace, potentially, that Ginetta as a car.
And there with the lights, Ibanez trying to frighten Eric Evans out of the way. Good luck with that. Up the inside there goes the Porsche. Alain Gabay trying to get through the traffic. The Ginetta turns in, they clash. That Ginetta on a different lap. So Gabay 6th, Ricardo van der Ende in 7th place, and now his pace slightly interrupted by that Ginetta that's out of sequence, and so van der Ende comes to the inside. Lariche absolutely flies down the pit lane. He'll get to the speed limit line and stand on everything, throw out the anchor. Finally the car slows right down. So there, look, up the inside goes van der Ende. That puts him now past the back-marking Ginetta, puts him therefore a lap up on Thibaut Mojica, who was brushed aside by charging Elon Gabay at the end of the previous lap.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, these cars boxing now, almost getting out of the traffic. Are they going to be able to perform an undercut on drivers staying out there a bit longer? Ibanez still tucked up behind. We saw him get that move done at turn 3, but it didn't stick. He's able to stay with the Mustang, and Mustang starting to twitch more and more. Rear tyres dropping away, using up the tyre life of that Pirelli DHG tyre, new compound this year, so teams, drivers still learning about it. Ibanez looks to the inside, Evans gives him a bit of room, but then the track flows back in the favour of the Mustang, who's lighting up the rears more and more. Ibanez dives to the inside, late on the brakes, there's space there. Who's going to get the drive out the corner?
Ibanez is just about going to do it, I think, on the inside line. Eric Evans, though, will have the inside for the next corner, so he tries to stay level in a straight line. That Mustang just has a little bit more grunt, and so back ahead goes the Mustang. Ibanez tries to brake late to maintain the inside line for this corner, and he's just about there. But coming out of the corner, Eric Evans on the outside line will get his nose back in front, and then he's on the right part of the racetrack for the next corner. Evans, inside line for turn 13, goes back through. Ibanez is fighting so hard for this. He's up the inside again into the last corner, and now he does have the advantage. He's got the better run off the banking, and Luc Ibanez has worked really hard for that. through he goes, and Evans says, enough's enough, I'm pitting anyway.
Yeah, great racing. They were side by side for 5 corners, and I loved the shot as he went through the chicane. Ibanez, the front wheel hovering over the gravel. It looked like he should be kicking it up, but the car's so stiff. It was tripodding around there. What's Ibanez got? He's potentially got another couple of laps to do before he needs to pit, but he needs to get his head down and go for the overcut now on that Academy Mustang.
Now the Aston Miller, Julius Dennison McLaren is under investigation for its pit stop time, which wasn't 78 seconds, it was 73.6. So even allowing the joker to be played, that's under. So there's a penalty looming for the McLaren. The race leader now coming up towards traffic. So Greg Gilbert's lap here might be slightly affected. You can see how now the order is jumbled with people having pitted. So they're out of a battle, but also back markers now in the mix, and that's what Greg Gilbert has got to come up against, which is a Porsche there with the hazard lights are flashing. He wants to try and wriggle past that car as quickly as he possibly can. 128 of Matteo Nombolo just up the road, the orange Porsche ahead of him.
It's the worst thing you want to see when you're lapping cars is the hazards on, because if he's indicating to say, I'm letting you go on the left, or is it the right, or is it both? And then also it's an indication of he's under a lot of stress because he's not even realised the indicators are stuck on in a hazard mode setting. Is he going to let him go? He is not. I wonder if Steele's better to box a lap early and try the undercut. I know he's handing over to an Joachim Bolting, but I think he's potentially going to get caught up in this battle, which will lose more time than it's worth, and Gilbert decides he's doing the same, and so does Hendrik Steele.
Yeah, in they come then at the 27 minutes to go mark. So Hendrik Steele closes up there as they get to the pit lane speed limit line. So Greg Gilbert with that Damocletian investigation still hanging over number 8 Audi. That will put Luc Ibanez into the lead. Luc Ibanez going long. He's probably got one more lap he can do before he gives away to Alex Papadopoulos, the American driver. So Hendrik is still. The car stops, and in a moment he will jump clear, and Joachim Bolting will get on board. Greg Gilbert heads down the pit lane to give way to Paul Petit.
It's a good stint from Steele there. He had a fast one at Ricard, but attracted too many penalties, like his teammate said. So he's now finishing up the driver change. Looks like it's gone well. You can see some seat padding there, adjustment between the drivers. Some of the cars have adjustable pedal boxes, and some don't, so you have to use the padding to get 2 drivers to fit into the same hole.
Ricardo van der Ende in the BMW, giving way to Benjamin Lessen. So this is Eric Evans' car, now with Marco Signoretti at the wheel. Now remember, they had a win at Paul Ricard. Signoretti very rapid, Eric Evans very rapid. And the car sings its way up towards the exit of turn 14. There is Paul Petit leaving the pits. There behind is Joachim Bolting leaving the pits. So they're in the same order, but how close or otherwise is that Mustang going to be? Now Paul Petit can increase the pace, comes to pit out, back into the race, and behind him is Joachim Bolting's Porsche. So it looks like they're both going to remain ahead of the Marco Signoretti Mustang.
Perfect pit stop as well from that Audi, 1/10 of a second over the minimum. So really good job there, as we see the Ginetta going off into the gravel at 7, doing a good job at rally crossing all the way through, keeping enough momentum not to get bogged down, but that will bring a lot of gravel on to the exit at turn 7.
Well, indeed. So that is Thibaut Mojica, the elder of the brothers, and that was the erstwhile leader, Luc Ibanez, coming down the pit lane. So with 9 seconds or so to go before the window closes, he's in, just in the nick of time. Alex Papadopoulos will be ready. The NM Racing team, the Spanish squad, the NM is racing in GT2. Neil Montserrat, he races a Mercedes AMG in the GT4 European Series this year, back into racing. And that NM Racing team has been a mainstay of GT4 European Series for quite a while, initially with the Ginetta for Luc Ibanez, now for this Mercedes. So there you've got Marco Signoretti onto the tail of Joachim Bolting, and he should be able to get past fairly easily, bearing in mind that Joachim Bolting is a quick am, and Marco Signoretti is a silver, a pro driver effectively.
Yeah, but Bolting will be under strict instruction not to let it easy. You won't want to let too much time go fighting, but you also won't want to lose too much time just lifting off the throttle, and he wants to stay on the clean part of the track. As soon as you run wide here, you start to pick up the marbles. It's very hard to clean up the tyre. Let's have a look. It looks like that NM car is going to slot in front, I think, of this battle, so the overcut potentially working. It's not going to be in front of the Audi. I think it's going to fit into that real estate that we can see between the Audi and the Porsche Bolting.
Okay, there's Paul Petit, then the race leader. And if Marco Signoretti can clear the Porsche, then he might stand a chance of being able to get into the mix. But there, look, Papadopoulos has had a good pit stop because he's jumped ahead of the Mustang and the Porsche. So the NM Racing Team Mercedes, upper place against the Mustang, upper place against the Porsche. There, Signoretti goes through. So now the Mustang is released. And that stop for the NM Racing Team was a very, very good one. 78.4 seconds. That's very good indeed.
Yeah, and actually Bolting, where he's lost position to Signoretti. Big snap of oversteer there. That took the, my thought process out of logic there. But he needs to settle in there. He's lost too much time to that Mustang already. And he's got a big cluster of cars behind. You can see him defending. Looks tentative with his inputs. He needs to settle into this rhythm. Yes, at the moment he's got a 9 place advantage overall to the next Pro Am car, another Porsche, but it's going to be interesting there. There you can see the pit stop times. You can see who's got it. 1 minute 18 is the perfect one. You can be a second under and play a joker, so Signoretti is okay. But really, Joachim Bolting's the big loser there, isn't he? Yeah. 3.7 seconds over minimum.
And Ajith Kumar's pit stop is being looked at as well, but that was 2 minutes and 9 seconds. So there's a problem there and a procedural element as well, I think.
Maybe just looking at it because it was so bad.
Why did that happen? Right, there is Consani on the attack, gets up past Jan Duran in the Supra, so that's an important place change. So the Audi goes ahead of the car that did lead silver in the championship coming into this race. They didn't win in Paul Ricard, Jan Duran, Hadrian David, but they scored points second in both races to come away with the championship lead. Right, Paul Petit leads from Alex Papadopoulos, and the margin is 4.9 seconds. Papadopoulos to Signoretti is 1.6. Fourth is Joachim Bolting. Benjamin Lassen's BMW is fifth. Robert Consani is up into sixth place. Jan Duran has dropped back into seventh. And then eighth in the background is the guy Albad Porsche that he's taken over from Elon Gabe.
Just looking at some times, Consani's done the fastest sector 1 out of anyone on that last lap. That's Hendrick still after a good stint. Interesting to get his thoughts over the safety car restart from the Audi we're looking at on screen, but the teammate Agil there.
And a time penalty to the leader. 5-second time penalty for disrespecting the safety car restart procedure. So Paul Petit leads by 4.9 seconds and he's got a 5-second penalty. He should be able to clear that.
Yeah, we go back to it. Look at this. So you can't deviate the speed. You have to hold a constant speed. The speed can be between 60 and 100 Ks. At the moment, I think we're on the 6th break of this procedure, if you want to call it that. 7, 8, and then on the final one, he brakes and accelerates, and that's what causes this big gap. Bizarre would be my polite way of explaining it.
Well, a 5-second penalty may not be the end of the world. Right now, I would offer you that the car to watch is the Mustang of Signoretti, 6.6 seconds back. And if he can clear Papadopoulos, he might get to within 5 seconds. There is Robert Consani, who's also now jumped ahead of Joachim Bolting. And very sideways in the background, Jan Duran in the Supra. Bolting is still leading his class. That's the target here. He doesn't want to be letting people by, as Joe was saying a few moments ago, but he doesn't want to get involved in a battle that's not really his. So Petit leads over the line, and he's got to be 5 seconds up the road. He should be from Papadopoulos. But Signoretti is a man on a mission and lapping quicker than the leader. So right now, Petit is safe. But if Papadopoulos clears that Mercedes and goes after the leading Audi, it becomes a different story with 20 minutes to go. Yeah,
and Papadopoulos will want to pick his pace up because he, at the moment, isn't able to stay with that Paul Petit Audi. But at the moment, he's only 0.7 of a second off winning this race because of that penalty. Just getting kicked up more and more. What's Signoretti going to be able to do? We saw this battle in the first hit, but it was the other way around with their teammates, wasn't it? It was Ibanez behind Evans of the Mustang at that point. There was a move done. It was good, hard racing. As the clock gets closer to 0, the fairness goes out the window, and the result seems to become more important.
But Signoretti's car just has the look of more urgency about it. That is being driven by the scruff of the neck. That has got seemingly more pace in it than that Mercedes. They are trying to close on the Audi, but if anybody can, it looks as though the Mustang has got the speed within it, whereas the Mercedes right now does not. And Benjamin Lassen in 4th place is also starting to close. This is Joachim Bolting's view. He is now in 8th place. He's dropped back, but he's still clear in his class.
car looks loose as well now, though, for him. The rear tyres seem to be sliding around. He's following a Porsche, and at this point, I think Hendrick still will be saying, right, the car in front of you is the same. We just follow it. Just whatever he does, you do. You place it in the same point. Look where he brakes. So into this last corner, he's just going to have a small brake off, down a gear, roll off the brake, pick the throttle up. And he's stuck with them for the last 3 corners quite nicely. He'll get a bit of a slipstream. Now need to be full throttle through here. And you sometimes get to a point where you're so hyper-focused, you start to make mistakes as Evans. Now with Signoretti down the inside. And this is now potentially going to be the race lead with that 5-second penalty.
Well, it might be if the Mustang can get within 5 seconds. It was certainly the best chance either of them had. The Mustang is the quicker of the two right now. So Marco Signoretti, winner at Paul Ricard, goes up into second place on the road. He's got to shake off the Mercedes, which I think he will do, and then he's got to try and erode a 6.4-second deficit. The last lap from the leader was a 45.485. It was a 45.473 for Signoretti. So even in traffic, he was marginally quicker. So right now, Eric Evans starting to get away from Alex Papadopoulos.
And his sector 1 was a 10th quicker for Signoretti there. So this is game on at the moment. It's going to ebb and flow as we go to the AMCAS leader there. Her 20th overall. That's been a great run for that car. They've done really well to get inside the top half of this very competitive European GT4 field.
Yeah, the AM leader is the Cayman that you can see with the white and yellow livery. There it is, Daniel Bickler having taken over from Max Kronberg, tucked up behind Cindy Goudet in the Toyota Supra, but that Toyota runs in Pro-Am. So the AM Porsche, it's another silver car behind, in fact, 128 of the Matteo Nomlon and Frederic Capras combination. So Daniel Bickler leading the category and thinking about getting up the inside there for an overall place, can't do it. Whether or not he wins a race here, Greg Gilbert has not had an outright win since 2021 because he's largely been in Pro-Am class cars in recent seasons. At the moment, 6.4 seconds the margin. That might be coming down though with 17 more minutes to go on this lap. In the first sector, fractionally quicker was Signoretti. In the second sector, quicker was Signoretti. In the third sector, quicker was Signoretti. 5.6 now is the margin. That evidence would suggest it's on for the Mustang to win the race.
Yeah, that was 9/10 on the last lap to Signoretti. So we've still got 16 minutes remaining. Hopefully he's not using the tyres too hard as we go to this battle side by side over the curb. I was worried that was going to bounce him into the side of the BMW, but nice clean move again. It's been really good racing up and down the field, kept it clean in the majority.
That was Mark Kastelich losing out to the Anthony DeBarn BMW. And then behind him, we've got another of the Rapid BMs. Right, there is the lead car. So this, remember, has this 5-second penalty for the restart procedure. Paul Petit at the wheel of it. And the team will be on the radio, no doubt, saying, keep this gap over 5 seconds if you can. Keep on pushing. There in the background, Marco Signoretti, who was slower this time in Sector 1, intriguingly, by about 0.6 of a second.
That's a big loss. It was a very slow sector from him, so it must have been a mistake. We saw a bit of a slide as we cut to it there. Here's the live gap. If it's under 5, he wins. If it's over 5, he loses. At the moment, 5.997, so he needs to find a second to get the win.
And that means it's crept up a little bit from 5.6 at the start of the lap. There's the battle between Lessen and Consani. This is for 4th place overall. Back on board now with Joachim Bolting. He's fallen into 11th place at the start of the lap. Still leading the class, but he's now not that far ahead of Fabien Duffieux, who is edging ever closer to him in another of the Porsche Caymans.
It's only 8.5 seconds between them now, and that will be on his mind, and he will have to refocus and hopefully get going a bit quicker and a bit more consistently. But has that been a problem for the 27 car? I feel like he's lost a lot of places.
I think you're right.
Since we've mentioned it. On the timing screen, he's still only 2 places back, but that is a bigger gap than 8.5 seconds.
But when he gets to the line and the screen updates, let us see. Fabien Duffieux then may have had a drama somewhere on that lap. Yeah, he certainly lost a place, 2 places, and he's tumbling down the order as he comes up to the line. Now, lead gap 6.1 seconds. They're going through in 8.12 is Charlie Hart on the back of Alexander Weintraub. Duffieux has dropped back into 17, so that puts a little bit more of a buffer between Joachim Bolting and his class opposition. But also now, have a look, there is Charlie Hart. The car ahead of him is Alexander Weintraub's Aston Martin. That is now up into second in Pro-Am. So not only has Duffield lost places outright, he's crucially lost second in class.
Yeah, well, interesting. He lost nearly 5 seconds on that last lap, so I wonder if it was a mistake or some contact. There's a lot of cars around him, that was for sure.
Lead gap up to 6.1 seconds. Paul Petit responding now against Marco Signoretti. There is Petit in traffic. In terms of top speed on the race vision powered by AWS graphic, it is Benjamin Lariche, Robert Consani at 247 kilometres an hour apiece, illustrating how evenly matched they are in that Audi that are the fastest through the speed traps. And right now it is Consani trying to find a way past Benjamin Lassen and up into fourth place. Can't do it going into turn 13, so he has to think about another option. The leader is coming up to the timing line. Paul Petit in sector 1 was fractionally slower. In sector 2 he was fractionally slower. So a gap of 6.1 seconds last time around. Now becomes 5.5 as Marco Signoretti goes through. So there's half a second in it with 13 minutes to go. As again, Consani tries to find a way around the outside of the BMW at turn 1 and gets up the curb on the inside. Can't do it there either.
Yeah, it's yo-yoing, isn't it, the gap? The Mustang seems to get into a gallop, into a canter, into a trot, and then seems to refuse to budge, even though the water's right in front of it. It's obviously not that thirsty at the moment. With 13 minutes remaining, where do I see this going? I think I need another lap to make my call. I feel like Paul Petit has got enough to hang on for a 5 second plus gap to keep the win.
But the closer Signoretti gets, the more he can see the back of that Audi. He's going to be spurred on. He would like to catch up to it as best he can, obviously, but he has got that 5 second penalty to factor in. There is Signoretti through the traffic. Papadopoulos, I fear, is going to lose more places by the end because, look, Lassen is right up behind him now. And behind the pair of them, it is Robert Consani. So, look, Benjamin Lassen crawling all over the back of the Papadopoulos Mercedes. That's going to enable Signoretti to get away. So, increasingly, the focus is up the road, not in the mirrors. And in the first sector of this lap, again, Signoretti was fractionally faster, only by about 21 thousandths of a second. We're about sector 2. They get to the end of that, and as they drop down to the braking zone for turn 11, slower is Signoretti. So it's a rather elasticated situation, but of course the Mustang did have to get past a back marker.
Yeah, and again, it's going to get into some clear air now. The Mustang looking more stable than it has done previously, so looking like the tyres are hanging in there for Academy Motorsport and Signoretti. They will be motivating him as hard as they can. They will be whipping him on, trying to get him as much pace as possible. 5.5 seconds. What's it going to be by the end of this lap? The Mustang breaks the beam. The gap now stands just at 5.6, goes up half a tenth.
As Lassen defends.
Greatness. We did a jump start, so we get some penalties for that, and we had a lot of track limits.
2, which is the right, then you go left at turn 3. And again, Consani thinks about the inside line, goes low, looks like it's going to be on. Not to be, comes out the other side, but Lassen is equally determined to find a way up past Papadopoulos. When they came across the line side by side, Consani was ahead by 10 thousandths of a second, but I think it's Lassen that's going to gain the place on Papadopoulos before he loses a place to Consani. They've got to get past the back marking Porsche there, and Ajith Kumar trying to get out of the way. Papadopoulos up the inside, and Lassen almost into the back of the Porsche. Could not have been closer.
Amazing. He's still got the cutback, though. I think he's going to get the job done on the Mercedes. Great job there. Really clean overtake. Use the back marker to his advantage.
Right, so now Benjamin Lassen tries to get away. This is the frustration for Luc Ibanez, watching his car now losing places. Alex Papadopoulos just not able to do the same lap times as those around him. There is a 15-second, there's a Toyota in strife. There's a 15-second pit stop going the way of number 81. That's the Aston Miller car for being too short on the pit stop. There was the contact that turned around 55 Toyota. So that's the car of the Brunhagens, Christopher and Mikhail.
I think that was while they were getting lapped, wasn't it, by another Toyota, just trying to pick out. I think it could have been Durand as he was overtaking a back marker, just got turned around, and that car hopefully gets out the way and we can run green all the way with 10 minutes remaining.
As Consani now comes up to have a go at Papadopoulos, who just can't retaliate, can he? Just can't withstand those lap times. So the Audi relatively easily goes by, and that puts Papadopoulos now down into 5th place. Luc Ibanez frustrated watching the car dropping away. Now the lead gap is 5.3 seconds. Remember, under 5 seconds, and there is the damaged Jan Duran Supra. So punctured tyre, bodywork hanging off, the bite a bit in all of that. So having turned around the Brunhagen's Supra, the championship leaders coming into this event, heading for the pit lane. There is the Paul Petit Audi then. Sector 1, a tenth slower. Coming up to the end of Sector 2, there is Signoretti, who will be getting the message from team manager Andrew Dean on the radio. Push, push, push. You don't have to catch the car, but you have to get within 5 seconds, so keep on pushing. And even quicker behind is the charging Benjamin Lessen.
Yeah, he's really found some pace now. He's in clear air. He's kind of dragging, isn't he, the Audi of Consani behind him, but looks like the BMW finally awakening a bit performance-wise. Had a pretty average qualifying, and now in the race seems to be able to stay at a good rate of knots.
And the danger, of course, in all of this for Petit is that if Lessen catches the Mustang, and the Mustang's within 5 seconds, then he's going to lose not 1, but maybe 2 places. He could fall further down the order. Right, so we are currently on lap 27, 8.5 minutes on the clock. And at the moment, the pendulum might well be swinging the way of the Ford Mustang to get within the magic 5 seconds to inherit the win. There is Robert Consani, who is 8.4 seconds back. So, yeah, second, third, and fourth are all pretty close. If they can all edge closer to the leader and get within the 5 seconds, then the order is really going to look different. Over the line they go. Petit is 4.9 ahead. That's not enough. So now it is definitely advantage Mustang. Marco Signoretti needs to stay within that 5 seconds and ideally get even closer.
Yeah, 4 laps to go, the momentum swinging as we see the Lotus trying to get round the outside of Cindy into turn number 10 into the chicane through this left part, all bunching up. The orange Porsche still with his hazards lights on. I hope they've got a good life on them. And you can see that Lotus trying to open the corner up on Goudet and get the run. The Lotus pretty strong. The Porsche running wide there, dropping a wheel. I think that was Ferran in the 24. Porsche 22nd overall, and that's lost him a lot of momentum onto this pit straight.
As indeed, so over the timing line they go. The Lotus still in the wheel tracks of the Toyota. In other words, you've got Alberto Nasca right up behind Cindy Goudet, 19th to 20th overall they are. The Supra goes wide, the Lotus goes up the curb, and Alberto Nasca gets the drive off the corner. He's going to be on the outside for the kink, he's going to be on the inside for the corner, and he goes through. Nice pass.
Really nice, very clean, clinical. Back to the inside for the Supra though, needs to get in front, block the Lotus off. Lotus is going to swing round and then that compromises her exit. The Porsche now with the hazards on, going to get the inside into the next left kink, and the Mustang follows through as well. Disaster for the Supra.
So that was Matteo Nomblo in the orange Porsche going by, and then also the Michael Haverantz Mustang. So yeah, poor old Cindy Goudet drops back. And this is a replay of more fun and games from a few laps back. Nomblo up the inside of Goudet up the curb. Got completely chopped off, and that's how the Lotus got past the orange Porsche in the first place.
Yeah, it was all kicking off. It actually went over that curve much better than I was expecting. I was expecting a bit of damage as it landed, but it rode it well.
White flag, meaning a very slow-moving car up the road. Now, is that the Hadrian David Supra crawling back to the pit lane with Jan Duran at the wheel of it? No, it is somebody else limping round, and that now is Cindy Goudet off the road, trying to reverse out of the gravel bed with 6 minutes to go. It's the Brunhagen Supra that is limping back that has brought out the white flag. And we go yellow in Sector 2 while the other Supra recovers. Not a great lap for Toyotas, is it? Yellow flag withdrawn because Cindy Goudet is back in the race. How she got into the gravel, there might be enough evidence to recount, and it might have been something to do with that car, look, which has also got damage and seemingly a front left punctured tyre. It is 74 that you're looking at, limping back. That is the Will Orton, David Kuhlman Aston.
Yeah, I didn't know if the other Supra, the purple one there, had some damage. Didn't look to be sitting particularly level, but all kicking off now. And someone that wouldn't want a safety car to end this race is Paul Petit, because that would erode his gap. But that is sub 4 seconds now, so it is potentially a chance of dropping all the way to third at the moment.
Yeah, because first to third is only 5.6 seconds, so exactly what I was suggesting a few laps ago is now starting to happen, as in they're concertinaing within the bracket that Paul Petit does not want them to be in, i.e. 5 seconds. They're all getting closer. They're close to one another, second, third, fourth, and they're getting closer to that lead car. So late race, the 5 seconds is having more of an impact than it did a few laps ago when the penalty was applied. At the time, he had a big margin, but they're quicker now. They're reeling him in, and that last lap by Petit was a slow one anyway, 46.7. There, look, Roberto Faria is under attack from Gabriele Piana. This is for 8th place. Piana is racing in GT3 and GT4 this weekend. The BMW is Piana's car. He's on the outside. He can't get through there. but Gabriele Piana accelerates now up towards the line. Faria just ahead of him, the UK-based Brazilian who came out of single-seater racing, Formula 4 GB3 in the UK. Over the line they go, and now we've got the top 4 on the road covered by 5.3 seconds. So not only is Lessen comfortably under the 5-second margin, but Robert Consani is about to dip under it as well.
Yeah, he could lose a podium position here, Paul Petit. It's all unravelling very quickly. They have said the Audi is hard on its tyres. Is that the issue we're starting to see here as we get into this final part of the race? But that would be gutting to go from a dominant win on the road to not even be on the podium in the final result.
Yeah, the lead gap coming down, but from Paul Petit's point of view, he thinks, well, I've got enough in hand. I can see the gap. I wonder whether the team have told him of the penalty and therefore the need to keep on pushing. You'd expect that they would do, because the worst thing is that he crosses the line, thinks he's won, and then they say, oh, by the way, there was a penalty that we didn't tell you about. So surely they would get the message through to push, push, push. But at the moment, the Audi just does not seem to have a response to the lap times of the Ford nor the BMW. What might save him is if these three get together and start squabbling for position, because then they'll be delayed, then they'll go slower, and that will mean that Paul Petit can possibly stretch the gap again.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout, and they are concertinaing up. Does look like Signoretti's maybe lost some of the pace advantage he had over these two cars in the mid part of this stint anyway. But yeah, definitely looks like that BMW's got some pace. I think when they come across the line, I think Petit is going to drop to 4th on the adjusted penalty.
I think you're right. Question is whether he can stretch it back, because now look, as the Mustang goes past the pits, the gap comes out a little bit. You've got Consani catching up to Lessen, and so it is 4 seconds that cover the leading 4. So right now on corrected time, Petit would be 4th, but here comes Consani, look, up alongside the BMW. And is he going to go through? Yes, he is. Very nice move on the inside. That puts him on the outside line going into turn 3. The BMW goes low and retakes the place. So Robert Consani is going to have to attack again, and this is good news for Petit. Straight away, they're holding each other up.
Yeah, they've probably grown to over 5 seconds, but Consani is through now. The power, that Audi, phenomenal. Just breezed past the BMW. Didn't expect it to be that easy. So these two actually almost need to work together now. Try telling that to 2 racing drivers with 2 minutes to go that they should work together to try and get a position that they can't physically see.
It's going to be one more lap at the end of this, isn't it, looking at the clock? 2 minutes now, looking at where we are around the racetrack. They are going to have used those last minute. Well, yeah, it's going to be a lap time left in the race by the time they get back to the timing line. So Signoretti still has a gap over Consani. Therefore, he shouldn't have to compromise his last lap by defending. I don't think Consani is going to be able to quite catch that Mustang. So at the moment, the question is whether or not Lessen is going to stay on the tail of Consani and therefore be within the magic 5 seconds as well. Paul Petit still leading on the road. Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans looking for a second victory of the season and coming into turn 13 right now, ready to start that last lap, because as they head up towards the timing line, there is just over a minute and 10 seconds on the clock, and a lap is a minute and 45, so less than a lap time left in the race. Last lap confirmed. Over the line goes Paul Petit, Marco Signoretti behind, and the margin between Audi and Mustang is 3.3 seconds. Then you've got Consani, and Lessen has dropped out of the 5-second bracket. He's 5.2 back. He has got to push as well. So all the teams need to be on the radio telling their drivers to push, whether it's to try and protect your lead or get within 5 seconds in the case there of Benjamin Lessen.
Simple, isn't it? These drivers should be driving as fast as they can, but you give a carrot to a donkey and they go a bit faster. In this instance, maybe the Mustang will be chomping at the bit to get there, and I think he's got a good chance, but Consani is so fast. I think he's going to have a lunge at some point on this last lap. I feel like he's got an opportunity. Where is it going to come? Is that going to delay him? Is that going to help his teammate, the lead Audi? If he can make an overtake and slow the Mustang down, he's potentially going to save his teammate some heartache. I don't think there's any motivation for him to do that, but I am speculating.
So together they almost are going into turn 9, now to 10. You can see Paul Petit just up the road, constantly using more of the racetrack. He has that car absolutely dancing. It's absolutely on the limit, isn't it? The number 3 Audi. Sideways there, coming off turn 10, and that loses him a car's length. That takes some of the pressure off Marco Signoretti. So Paul Petit in the lead Audi comes down. There he is, going through the shot into turn 11. Marco Signoretti trying not to worry too much about what's going on behind and just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Stay within 5 seconds of the lead car. The other one that needs to push is Lessen, and he has caught back up to Consani. So the clock now is going to be of great interest to see what the outcome is. Remember, the car that leads on the road has a 5-second penalty, and these cars are all close enough to get within him. So, up to the checkered flag. On the road, Greg Gilbert and Paul Petit will be the on-the-road winners. Start the watch. Up towards the line comes Marco Signoretti, who will go through now, and he is 4 seconds back. Consani 4.4, and Lessen loses out. 5.2 the margin. He wasn't quite able to stay within the 5 seconds. So Marco Signoretti, Eric Evans will win from Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche, and Paul Petit and Greg Gilbert take third. 2 tenths up on Benjamin Lessen's BMW. Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting are going to win in Pro-Am for the second time this year. Here they come. Max Kronberg and Daniel Blickler are going to win in Am.
That was a great drive from Joachim Bolting, because he had a lot of work to do to let those faster silver cars filter through past him at the start of his stint, and he settled in to a very, very strong pace. So good job to them, racing all the way to the line, the Lotus and the Porsche. And yeah, we had that contact at the start, didn't we, which drew out the red flag. But from there, we've had some pretty hard but clean racing in the majority of this 43-car field.
So the winning drivers then will make their way to the podium, and they're a very happy Marco Signoretti with Eric Evans taking a second victory of the season. Okay, they inherited it rather than doing it on the track, but the penalty was applied, and they did what they needed to do. A win is a win. The points are the points, and the Mustang looking really impressive this year. It is the evolution of the GT4 Mustang. Last year it was a split program, British GT and European. This year concentrating on Europe. And for Matt Nicol-Jones's team and Andrew Dean as the team manager, that's a really, really good result, marking out the Mustang as a factor in a different circuit. Zandvoort compared to Paul Ricard, very different beasts, and yet this car translates well.
Yeah, they got a good test program. You can see Signoretti waving and thanking the marshals. Always good to see from the drivers. And there's a Mustang celebration as well, isn't there, at Le Mans this year?
Yeah,
so
right.
Academy there. And yeah, the GT3 car struggling at times with the forward performance, but the GT4, quite the opposite, seems to be the car to have at the moment.
So the cars turning their way down to the chicane, then to the pit lane. Paul Petit already in the pit lane. He has come storming back at the end of that so-called slowing down lap. Not happy at all. And I suppose this is where you've got to somehow try and keep harmony with your co-driver, because it was what Gilbert did that earned them the penalty. Nothing to do with Paul Petit, and yet his stint goes to a degree unrewarded.
Yeah, he's done nothing wrong himself. No. Should have won, could have won, but doesn't matter. Joachim Bolting with so much energy left at the end of the stint. He's just like a sort of a Mad March hare, isn't he? He's all over the place. And yeah, you can even see in this picture there, that is probably what it looks like right now.
So the cars that aren't required for the top three in their classes will be waved off the circuit. The marshals waving them into the paddock, except now there's a big traffic jam, so it might take a while to round people up for the podium. There is Paul Petit, who has had the news broken to him. He talks to Greg Gilbert. There is Benjamin Lariche with his back to us. So Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti win from Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani. Greg Gilbert and Paul Petit take third. Ricardo van der Ende and Benjamin Lessen fourth from Luc Ibanez and Alex Papadopoulos. Sixth from McLaren of Josh Rattigan and Mackenzie Cresswell. Beke Bessler and Gabriele Piano were seventh, ahead of Ruben Del Sart and Roberto Faria. Elon Gabay and Guy Albag ninth, and then the Nicolas Siama and Ethan Gialdini, Ginetta to round out the top 10. 13th, the Pro-Am winners, Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting, ahead of Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub. Third in class, Mathieu Dietrich and Fabien Duffier. As far as Am is concerned, it was a class win there for Max Kronberg and Daniel Blickler. 17th from Anthony Debarn and Julien Leandri. 23rd, Hans Holmland, the soloist. 26th overall, but third in class. So the American-Canadian combination for Academy Motorsport, the British team, coming out on top. And a very happy Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans. One or two drivers less happy down in the pit lane. It might take a while, looking at the lack of cars in the pit lane, to get everybody we need for a podium. I think there might be an overall, but here come the rest. They've been allowed through. So there's a bit of, yes, we need you, we don't need you. And then you let the cars through, including, in fact, the race winner. So, yes, we definitely need the Mustang. There is Marco Signoretti bringing the car down the pit road. There are incidents to be looked at post-race, so when we get to tomorrow's race, there might be one or two other stories to filter through from tonight and the stewards' investigations. So a welcome return to Zandvoort for GT4 and some good racing.
Yeah, really good. Lots of overtaking, lots of sub-stories, the cars transforming over a stint in the pit stops being very critical. A lot of teams doing a mega job with their pit stops well within sort of a half a second perfect scenario. So, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of happy drivers and teams this evening in the Amsterdam area.
And Eric Evans opens the door as far as it will go for co-driver Marco Signoretti to clamber out. They've done it. Happy drivers, both members of the Ford Performance Junior team, as you can see from their overalls. There is Joachim Bolting. Ever understated? Not. Hendrik still comes across to congratulate his co-driver. That's 2 wins out of 3 now this year, and a very happy Hendrik still, who seems to have a different co-driver every season. He's the Pro-Am gun for hire, isn't he? Yeah,
he does a good job in and out of the car, coaching these drivers and making them as fast as possible. And he's got a good track record at that.
Well, Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans take the race win on corrected time. They will be absolutely delighted, no doubt. And Alex is with them.
Marcus, Eric take the win of race 1 here in Zandvoort of the GT4 European Series. A little birdie tells me, we're going to the race in a second, that you limped home just then, Marcus. One more lap, it wouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows with racing, but she wasn't sounding very good. But I think it was just tough because, like, you know, we're taking curb, we're really, really hard on the components, especially through the banked areas, and, you know, we're smashing curbs pretty good. So, no, we made it home, and yeah, no, it was great. Eric did a great stint, and you know the car held up and was really quick throughout the race. So we had something we could race with and took the most of it.
Yes, exactly right. You were able to capitalise on a certain someone's loss. Eric, when we spoke on the grid earlier, you didn't expect to be on the top step, did you?
Absolutely not. You know, I just said that you'll let the race come to us. I knew that the Audi here and the Porsche had some pretty good pace, and I didn't know where our race pace was, but I was expecting we could hold our own up there, but I don't think any of us were expecting this. I mean, obviously, we didn't cross the line first, but we'll take it. You know, it's racing, and it just is what it is.
Absolutely, but given what you've just told us about gearbox and other potential issues, to be able to keep that 5-second gap at that end, you must have been pushing very hard.
Yeah, it was tough. When they first said there's a penalty, I thought it was to me. I was like, what did I do? And then I realized it was the car ahead, so we were pushing. And then, yeah, no, trying to get through traffic as quick as possible. And then, luckily, they battled right at the last bit, the BMW behind me and the Audi. So I got a nice little gap. At the same time, you know, they were hitting lap traffic. So it's easier to be the second one on the scene and kind of navigate where they get through. So, yeah, no, it was a bit stressful when they were catching as well. But, you know, just put your head down and do what you got to do.
Another well-deserved win. Well done, boys.
So 1 on merit, 1 on corrected time. Doesn't matter. Maximum points go the way of Eric Evans, the American driver, Marco Signoretti, the Canadian, and the British team operating the Ford Mustang now with the Ford Performance backing. Ford, of course, taking a renewed interest in sports car racing. Let's go to our Pro-Am winners, Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting.
Those magic shoes are working. Henrik, what a brilliant stint that was. Nicely done off the line, and then you just, oh, it was very clean, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very clean stint. I mean, especially in the beginning, after the start, we had the pace maybe to attack. It was just a half a lap, and then it came to safety car. I was struggling a bit. I needed to defend against Evans in the restart, but my tire pressures were a bit too low. After this, I came in a rhythm, tire pressures were there, and we were on the point and just flying with the car. Very good job from the team, and thanks to Joe for bring the win home, yeah.
Right, you, I think, need to speed up your pit stop. That was slow.
Yeah, it was slow because I didn't fix something. I think we lost 3 seconds or something like that, but better than last time because we had a penalty with 10 seconds, so we now save 7 seconds, so I think it was a good job.
And you're still on the top step, so, you know.
Yeah, last few laps was a little bit tricky, but I saw that behind me the car was 10 seconds ahead, behind me, and the guy in front of me was struggling a bit, and the 3 silver cars needed a lot of time to go ahead of him, and I don't want to struggle with them. That was the reason why we lost some seconds at the end of the race.
Well, still a very deserved win. Well done, you two.
Thank you.
So thumbs up, big smiles for our Pro-Am winners, Joachim Bolting and Henrik Still, who have this spectacularly liveried Porsche, and we'll get to the bottom of the livery over the course of the season. But a very good job, 13th overall, but a class win by 2.5 seconds. So it was a smaller margin at the end, but a class win nonetheless. Right, Daniel Blichler, Max Kronberg are the AM winners in the Porsche Cayman. They were 17th overall. Good job done. Let's go to them.
Winners of our AM class, Max, Daniel, congratulations. Great start. You kept yourself out of mischief, didn't you? Because there was quite a lot going on around you.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the start, especially here in Zandvoort, you don't have a lot of space on the track, so a lot of going left and right. But I had a lot of space for the next IM car, so I tried to stay out of trouble. I think it worked pretty well. Yeah. And then handed over to Daniel, and he drove it home.
Daniel, that was great. And also, nice quick pit stop from you boys.
Yes, since we messed up in France last time with the pit stop, then we practiced a lot, and now we got it right, yeah. Good. So that was actually the fundament for winning today, and yes, was good. I had great fun, was cool.
Good. Well deserved to win. Get yourself on the podium.
Thank you.
Daniel Blichler, who only started racing last year, age 36. Max Kronberg, last year's Pro-Am champion. He's come on a lot with the help of Henrik Still, and now, if you like, the team leader, rather than being the AM and being helped, he is helping Daniel Blichler, and they are after the AM success, and looking pretty good so far, with that being the first combination to beat Anthony Debarn and Julien Leandri in AM this season. Right, podium awaits. 3 podiums, of course, that we have for GT4 European Series for the 3 categories. And the drivers then on the steps, making their way, some behind the podium, ready for our first ceremony. The SRO officials will make sure they've got the right people, the right presenters, and then call them all forward. You can see the winning cars that are required by the scrutineers parked at the foot of the podium.
Interested to see the body language of the Audi of Petit and Gilbert to see how they are. They'll line up on the 3rd step when they finished on the road on the top step, obviously.
If you're in Paul Petit's position, what do you do? Do you blame the officials? Do you blame your co-driver? Or do you just have to accept that you win as a team, you lose as a team, and shrug and move on?
Depends what's being agreed in the pre-race briefing, really, in terms of a restart procedure. Do they think that is okay, and then they will blame the officials, or was that Gilbert kind of going rogue and deciding this is how I'm going to do it? Yeah. And yeah, you win and lose as a team, and this early on in the season, all I would kind of say is, as Paul Petit, you would look to basically kind of bank that and go, you know what, I've made a mistake, but I'll let you off on this one.
While we wait for the podium, let's have a quick look back at the highlights then of the opening GT4 European Series race. Good getaway made by Ray Gilbert from pole position, but early on, contact took out of the race Julien de Back and Jagish Gedik. That meant we had a red flag, and on the resumption of the race, there was this unorthodox restart from Greg Gilbert that gave that car a 5-second penalty and ultimately enabled Marco Signoretti, who had battled his way up through the order, to get within the 5 seconds and be a race winner, with Robert Consani charging on behind him. Good battle early on, though, between Luc Ivanieff and Eric Evans, Mercedes versus Mustang. But it was Signoretti put in for the second stint, who did a mega job, that's for sure. Joachim Bolting's Porsche was on target to win in Pro-Am, but it slipped down the order outright. But even so, a class win was a good job done. Signoretti was able to dispense with Alex Papadopoulos as he made his progress up, not only into second place on the road, but also within the 5 seconds, as Benjamin Lecen and Robert Consani were busy squabbling behind. BMW versus Audi. Consani eventually went through, and Lecen missed out just on the 3rd place by 0.2 of a second. So Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans took win number 2 of the GT4 European Series season. Right, podiums then are underway, and the speed car drivers then for 3rd place, Paul Petit and Greg Gilbert. 2nd place, Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche are on the podium. Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti there as well. Paul Petit forcing a smile, trying to make light of the situation as the trophies are presented. The British national anthem for the British team of Academy Motorsport. And then Gregory Gilbert and Paul Petit received their third-placed trophies. A speed car 2-3 because Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche out of the same stable take second place. Then there is the winning team's trophy that goes to Andrew Dean from Academy Motorsport. And then to his drivers, the trophies for Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti, win number 2 of the season. And then Guy Albach takes the Rookie of the Race award. That's why we have the extra driver on the podium. So winning team, winning drivers, winning rookie, trophies in the air, champagne awaits. Andrew Dean, like a devout coward, gets out of the way, lets the drivers spray the champagne. And Paul Petit, I think, and Greg Gilles, they're kind of adopting the principle of them being the moral winners, but race control disagrees. But they are forcing smiles at least, so they've made up, it would appear.
What if Paul Petit's tempted to christen Gilbert like you do a ship and you bring that bottle over the top? I'm not sure.
If he does, it'll be behind, away from the camera, that's for sure. Benjamin Lariche then takes championship points. And a real interesting mix of cars in that leading order. Ford ahead of the 2 Audis, then BMW, then Mercedes, then McLaren 6th. Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans then 2 points ahead in the championship in silver from Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani, Yann Duran and Hadrien David. The puncture and damage today falling back in the title race ahead of Ricardo van der Ende and Benjamin Lessen, Alex Papadopoulos and Luc Ibanez in 5th from Mackenzie Cresswell and Josh Rattican. That McLaren having a tougher time this season. But Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti, a job well done. Championship leaders then with the combination that led before the race. Now down to third, Yann Duran and Hadrien David. So the next of the podiums being made ready. Trophies ready, champagne on the podium. Drivers being brought forward. And they see the final point scorers within silver. So there, the drivers ready to be called forward in Pro-Am, where for third place goes to the delayed Porsche of Mathieu Detry and Fabien Duffieux. Out they come. Second place goes the way of Alexander Weintraub and Stanislav Safronov. Out they come. Regulars on the podium. Very consistent combination, those two, very evenly matched. And then the Pro-Am winners, Henrik Still, Joachim Bolting, out he comes. With his new haircut, another win, the lucky shoes, and quite a character Joachim Bolting is becoming. But the WNS Motorsport team represented on the podium as well. German team on top in Pro-Am. Really good effort that by Henrik Still and by Joachim Bolting. And yeah, he lost places overall, but was able to cope with that. I think he said at the time, you know, he kept out of battles he didn't need to be in and coming out on top. The job well done. Yeah, he was able to refocus and get his pace back to where it needed to be. And yeah, impressive performance. And considering where they've been at times, the pace is there. And if they can tidy up their pit stop, there's another 3 seconds given away there in the stop today. Second win of the season for Still and Bolting as well. So Eric Evans, Marco Signoretti taking a second win in silver, and another 2-time combination winning in Pro-Am, Henrik Still and Joachim Bolting. The WNS Motorsport team, well versed in operating GT4 Porsches, and a largely happy podium, I think. Alexander Weintraub, Stanislav Safronov there, along with Mathieu Detry and Fabien Duffieux. The podium then gets yet more champagne upon it.
We've got the Paul Ricard.
Yes, the one rogue bottle that went open. And it's Joachim Bolting's bottle that doesn't open, so he gets soaked and thinks, yeah, I'll just take this now. I'll walk on, it ain't going to happen. But happy people nonetheless, and all useful points for Still and Bolting winning the championship. So one more podium remains, that's for the AMs. So off the podium they head. And another race for the GT4 teams tomorrow. So Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting now 24 points ahead of Joachim Balva and Victor Bouveng. Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub are third. Mathieu Dietrich, Fabien Defia next, ahead of Nico Farrarin and Vinny Beltramelli. Olivier Jouffret and Eric Tremollet down in 6th place. But Hendrik Still, Joachim Bolting take their second victory of the season. And that's quite a championship lead so early in the year.
Yeah, they're nearly double, aren't they, of anyone else? And they just need to plug away now, and it's such a nice position to be in. You can just take your foot off the gas physically and metaphorically when you're not sure on a decision whether to overtake or not, and just stay behind and bank some more points.
And so the AM drivers await their turn. Podium made ready, and out they come with the third place driver being soloist Hans Homland, second place Anthony de Barn and Julien Leandri, and then another W&S victory, because the same team that won Pro-Am wins AM. For Max Kronberg, Daniel Blichler make their way to the top step, along with members of the family. So a proper celebration this is going to be. Up goes Daniel Blichler's daughter. And the celebrations again for the German W&S Motorsport team. 2 class wins. So for W&S, the anthem of the winning team, Eric Vargas of the circuit part of Zandvoort steps forward with the trophies. And the first defeat of the year for Anthony de Barn and Julien Leandri. So an important result that for the opposition to prove that they are beatable. W&S, as I say, well versed in running these Porsches, and Max Kronberg, who's been driving them now for what, 3-4 seasons, also knows the cars inside out, and that continuity has got to help.
As a driver, it just takes away so much of the stress, worrying about where buttons are, how the car feels over a stint. It's just second nature, which only helps when you're going for a championship.
So the photos taken, drivers with the champagne ready to go. The benefit of having a race each day means you can get the overalls clean or put your spare pair on for tomorrow, and therefore celebrate on the podium. The GT4 teams back out for race 2. The qualifying time's already set. They will race at just after 11:55 tomorrow, after GT2 and before the final World Challenge race here by the sea at Zandvoort. So Jean-Mathieu Leandri and Anthony de Barn still ahead by some margin in AM. Max Kronberg and Daniel Blichler second, from Igor Sorokin and Keith Gatehouse. Philippe Talamy and Julien Ripper are fourth, and Stefan Nielsen with Mats Olsen. And the Brunhagens, bad race today, but still sixth in the AM competition. So race 2 tomorrow should be another cracker, and we'll see whether Marco Signoretti and Eric Evans can make it 2 out of 2 this weekend when we go racing here at Zandvoort tomorrow lunchtime. But a very lively first race of the weekend. We'll see you for more of the same tomorrow.